What's up, EA fam? Happy Thursday if you're listening to this on the day it comes out. Happy whatever day of the week it is to you, in whatever month and year it is to you, whenever you're listening to this. I'm just happy to have you here. Thanks for being here. Welcome back to another episode of the pod, and I'm your host, Mallory Marks, as always. And today we are going to be diving into 6 reasons why undereating is keeping you skinny, fat, and stuck. And I will admit that this episode is inspired by another podcast episode from the show Mind Pump. And I want to shout out and give them credit because I think this was a phenomenal kind of episode they did. This one's going to be a little bit different and have a little bit different reasons. But I was just listening to them while I was traveling the last 2 weeks, which I've been traveling for 11 days. I've been on 3 different flights, well, I guess 2 different cities. And whenever I'm on flights for a long time, I always download some podcast episodes. And Mind Pump used to be a show that I loved. Like my first 4 years of my fitness journey, I listened to them religiously, and they come out with an episode a day. So it is a commitment, but they are just so knowledgeable and so digestible. And I'm saying this because, well, I'm so glad you're here, and I hope you always come back and listen to my pod. I am only doing episodes once a week, and I am here because I just want people to learn, whether that's from me or other outputs. I just want you to learn, and I want you to learn good information because there's a lot of crap out there. But Mind Pump and the guys over at Mind Pump, they crush it. And so I want to, number one, give them a little bit of credit for where this episode idea came from. And number two, send you their way if you are looking for more just information, education around fitness, nutrition, metabolism, health. They cover it all. So that's my shout out to them. But they did an episode on some reasons why undereating might be keeping you fat and healthy, or sorry, fat and unhealthy, not healthy. And I just agreed with so much of it. And I've done content similar to this before, but it was just another reminder to me that so many of the women who are listening to this podcast, what they struggle with is undereating. And what they struggle with is just this knowledge when it comes to metabolism and nutrition. So I wanted to do a similar episode for my audience. I'm changing the reasons a little bit. I'm changing the angle a little bit because they're great, but they're definitely just more general population. And again, I know that 95% of you guys listening are women and who are specifically struggling with honestly like the mindset and the fear around food, and just the lack of knowledge too. So without further ado, we are going to get into it. I have 6 reasons for you on why undereating, underfueling is keeping you stuck in this skinny fat place where I'm guessing you feel really plateaued, you're feeling really frustrated, and for a lot of you, you're probably feeling like I'm not far away from my goal, right? Like I know that I don't have maybe a ton of weight to lose, or maybe honestly you're somebody listening that the skinny fat term doesn't resonate with you and you genuinely like are overweight, maybe you do have a good bit of weight to lose. This can still apply. If you at all fall into the camp of like, I feel like I'm eating super low calories and trying to diet and eating like 1200, 1300, 1400 calories, and I just can't seem to lose weight or I can't seem to change my body composition, this episode is for you. Okay. And yeah, let's dive into it. Okay, so reason number one that undereating is keeping you stuck where you are. If you are chronically undereating for a long period of time, specifically without also the addition of strength training or some sort of stimulus that is telling your body to keep muscle, then the weight that you are losing from your calorie deficit is likely mostly muscle, not fat. And that is why you continue to kind of stay skinny fat, right? Because when it comes to the term skinny fat, what essentially that means is that you maybe are an ideal weight or around an ideal weight for your height and whatnot, but you feel like you don't have a lot of tone definition. You feel like your body fat percentage is high because it is, because you're under muscled. The weight that you are, even if it's a healthy weight, a undesirable portion of that weight is still body fat, and then a like undesirable amount of that weight is muscle or lack thereof. Right. And so if we are only focusing on that calorie deficit and we're chronically doing it for a long period of time, then without the stimulus of strength training or your body having any reason to keep muscle, then sure, we might lose weight, but a lot of that weight is going to continue to be muscle. So the scale's going down, but we already were in a place where we were under muscled and too much body fat, but now the weight we're losing is just muscle. So your weight on the scale might be going down, but your body fat percentage is actually now climbing high. Because if you think about it, like the amount of fat on your body hasn't really changed. And so if your weight's getting smaller, but the amount of fat is the same, that fat is now taking up a larger percentage of your total weight, hence body fat percentage being higher. So this is why people can get very frustrated. They're like, okay, I thought I just wanted to lose weight, so I'm doing what I think I need to do to lose weight, which in their heads is eat less. But then they're like, why am I not looking better? This is why. Okay. And I say the part too of like without the proper strength training, because this, like, the way to lose body fat oftentimes is a slight calorie deficit, but it needs to be moderate. It cannot be chronically, and it needs to be coupled with something like resistance training where your body has a really good reason to keep muscle and instead burn body fat in that calorie deficit. If it doesn't have a good reason to keep muscle, there's no resistance, there's nothing telling your body, hey, we really need this muscle, it's important. The muscle is going to be the first thing to go because the body doesn't want to keep muscle. It's really hard and expensive to keep muscle. So if it doesn't have a reason, that's going to be the first thing to go. And what I'll say lastly on this point is oftentimes the women who I see in chronic calorie deficits and extreme calorie deficits are also the ones who are not approaching training or exercise the correct way, because oftentimes they're in more of the mindset of like crash diet, whatever, and they think that they're only concerned about the nutrition component of weight loss, and so they're not really thinking about like what should I be doing from an exercise perspective, and then we don't have the right thing to keep that muscle well in that calorie deficit. So that's the first reason why undereating might be keeping you skinny fat is you're losing muscle, not fat. Second reason, if you are chronically underfed, then guess what? You're also chronically underperforming in your workouts. Because if you're underfed, you are not giving yourself enough energy. Calories are energy. Like that's just simply what they are. So with lack of calories also equates to lack of energy. With lack of energy equates to lack of performance in the gym, in your workouts. You don't have enough fuel to train hard. And then therefore, you don't have enough fuel to build muscle. You don't have enough fuel within, even if you are strength training and you're starting from a place of maybe being skinny fat. And remember what I said at the beginning here, being kind of skinny fat means being under muscled. And a component of changing that body composition is building muscle. And if we do not have the fuel to go into our workouts and lift heavy loads, progressively overload, again, your body has no reason to continue to build muscle. So we're not performing to our best ability, and performance is going to be correlated with body composition changes. And that's just in regards to like general calories and underfueling when it comes to calories. If we're underfueling as a whole too, we're also probably under eating protein, because I guess, again, less shots on goal for so many women. It's already hard enough to get 100 grams of protein, 120 grams of protein. And now when you're only eating 1,200 calories, that gets even harder. And so without protein, which we know is obviously so essential to both building muscle and keeping muscle or sparing muscle, then we're not building muscle in our workouts. And then again, going back to even like reason number one, remember, if you're in a chronic calorie deficit, one of the first things your body wants to do if it doesn't have a good reason to keep muscle is burn it off. And protein is something that helps tell your body keep it. But if you're under eating, then you're likely, don't have enough protein, and it's very hard to keep that muscle and perform to your best in a strength sense without that protein. You don't have enough to repair anything. So you're just underperforming, under recovering, under getting the value from your workouts that are essentially really crucial to changing your body composition. So number two is if you're underfed, you're underperforming. All right. Number three, reason why undereating is going to keep you stuck in the skinny fat spot. Your metabolism is slowing down to match your intake. So we need to think about like how the body works. And this is where when I talk about like why metabolic education and the knowledge around how the metabolism works is so essential for this to all kind of like click for somebody. The metabolism is always just trying to keep your energy output and your input the same. Like it really just wants to kind of keep you at homeostasis, and it's going to do everything it can to match your output to your input, because the body doesn't want you chronically like outputting more than you're taking in, because then we're in this big chronic energy deficit. It also doesn't want you chronically taking in more than you're outputting, because then we're again in this chronic energy surplus. Like it wants to be at homeostasis, but your body can only do so much. And so eventually it's going to begin to kind of meet you where you're at if you're over time just giving it less and less calories, because your body is adapting to survive and keep it at that homeostasis. So after like weeks, months of a chronic calorie deficit, it's going to be like, all right, well, she's only giving me 1,300 calories a day. Like, I can't live if I'm always in the negative. So, what can I do to match her output to 1,300 calories? And this is where it does things like burn off muscle, because muscle burns calories. So, the less muscle, the less calories you burn. This is where it does things like your energy gets really low, and you notice that you're not as like maybe just fidgety and not as fast with things and not as like energized because you're not expending these extra calories, which we don't, I'm not even mentioning the fact that that like just makes you like feel like crap, and what's the point? But also now we're just not burning calories either, so we're also not able to get rid of fat, and it just becomes this vicious kind of cycle. And it's very hard to get out of that skinny fat zone and build muscle and lose body fat when your metabolism is very slow. But we create our metabolism being slow by underfueling for a super long period of time. That's how the metabolism slows down. So that's another reason why under eating is going to keep you stuck in this skinny fat zone. Number 4, I love this one, and I think this is not talked about enough. And I think this is like honestly such a massive one that for so many of you is probably going to be like, oh yeah, that one's me. And it's that it keeps you under eating chronically, keeps you on the binge and restrict hamster wheel, which keeps you skinny fat. Here's what I mean by that. All right. Ultimately, a big issue here is that we're oftentimes chronically over time, like maybe not even under eating, we're actually overeating, but it's because we're under eating Monday through Friday or Monday through Thursday. We're so perfect, air quotes, because I don't think it's perfect to eat this way, but we restrict, we restrict, we restrict. And then the weekend comes around, or maybe this is more for you on a scale of like you restrict for 3 weeks and then that final, like whatever time frame, everyone at some point when you are so restricted hits this wall of F it. I'm over this. And your body just like is like, give me all the food. And now instead of having one slice of pizza when you're out on a Friday night or one burger, and fries when you're out on Friday night, you're having 6 slices of pizza, or you're having the burger, fries, ice cream, going home and also eating cookies. Like we just overdo it. And this is that binge and restrict hamster wheel. And what's happening here is either, the binge ultimately negates all of the calorie deficit you've been restricting yourself to anyway, because you end up overeating and overindulging, and then we're never in this place where like we actually are in a deficit to lose body fat or whatnot. And or it also creates your metabolism just being like, WTF is going on? Like one side extreme, the other side extreme. And it's never actually like in a place where it feels like, okay, I know, how I should be operating. I know how much fuel I have to go towards building muscle, or how much fuel like I feel safe to be able to burn body fat. Like it's just on this crazy yo-yo journey. And it also just creates a very negative relationship with food, which again, I know so many of you are listening and you're like, yeah, okay, that's me. And this is going to keep you in this skinny fat spot because it's not a calorie deficit. It's also not really giving you the tools to actually build muscle. And it just, again, creates this like really negative relationship with food. And that's why I see so many people who are stuck kind of in this more skinny fat zone are also the ones who are struggling with their relationship with food. So, number 4, binge restrict hamster wheel. We gotta break it. Number 5, your hormones hate you. That is why you're stuck eating skinny fat, and they hate you because we are just chronically undereating. Because constant undereating can mess with your hormones, which does a calorie deficit lead to weight loss? Yes, but like optimal hormones are what lead to optimal body composition and optimal metabolism. And especially for women, and that's why I wanted to do my own version of this podcast where I'm talking specifically to women. We are so quickly affected, our sex hormones are so quickly affected by calorie deficits, especially when they are large, chronic, and extreme. Large and extreme are the same things, but they are much more quickly affected than men, because we are the ones who are also like, when we think from a reproductive standpoint, right? Like we are the ones who have to carry the child. We are the ones who have to like build the child, grow the child, and everything comes back when it comes to metabolism too, from this evolutionary perspective of reproduction. And so if your body is getting signals that, oh, there's not enough, like she's not eating enough calories, there must not be enough energy available, it begins to downregulate things like your sex hormone and your thyroid, because it's kind of getting the signal that this is not a safe environment to procreate. And whether or not procreation is your goal right now, your body evolutionary works like it always is. So that's what happens when sex hormones are quickly affected. This is why I don't love intermittent fasting for women. Even though it's on like a daily basis, we can be like, studies have shown that women's hormones are affected within a matter of like hours of longer fasts. So your hormones can be, again, negatively affected due to under eating. And then also just think about kind of what comes with that too, like fatigue, poor sleep, all these things that like then again lead back to like we're going to feel like crap, we're not going to train well. So it's kind of this cyclical cycle. We talked about already how not training well, underperforming is going to impact your body's ability to build muscle and get out of the skinny fat zone. So all of this stuff has an impact. So under eating really can affect your hormones, which then affect your ability to impact your body composition. And then the last one I've got for you in terms of this one's especially on like the health side, so like how under eating is truly making you unhealthy. You're nutrient deprived. If we are under eating for a long period of time chronically, I'm pretty like confident in saying you are not getting the nutrients that you need. It is already so difficult in today's day and age to get the nutrients that one needs in their diet because we live in a world of hyper processed foods now. And look, there's nothing wrong with having some processed foods in your life. I very much abide by the 80-20 rule myself, but let's even just think about if you're actually abiding by the 80-20 rule, but then you're eating only 1,200 calories. Well, that means, this is going to put my math on the spot here really quick. What is that, like 900? What's 80% of 1,200? I don't know. Let's say it's 900 calories. I think I'm probably relatively close there. Now you're only, if like 80% of those 1,200 calories are whole foods, okay, that's 900 calories that have the opportunity to probably have decent nutrients in it. Promise you, that is not enough. They actually reference this in the Mind Pump episode, but there's a study that looked and to see with even a 2,000 calorie diet from registered dietitians, writing it up with whole foods only, if they were able to have a diet that got all the micronutrients somebody ideally needs in a 2,000 calorie diet, and it was incredibly difficult. And that's a 100% of 2,000 calories being whole foods. So think about taking those calories super far down, adding in the fact that like a lot of us are opting for maybe not the like whole foods 100% of the time, and it's pretty much guaranteed that if you're under eating chronically, like you have nutrient deficiencies, and nutrient deficiencies are going to obviously lead to us not being in our most optimal health. Not being in our most optimal health is going to make it very, very difficult to change our body composition, but like also just looking at the health side there, it's why it keeps us stuck not feeling good. So these are big reasons why it is so, so, so important to go through periods of time where we're not under eating. And that's kind of how I want to wrap things up here. Because ultimately, I'm not saying that you can never be in a calorie deficit. You can. It is okay to be in a calorie deficit. Some people like need to be in a calorie deficit at points in times for health reasons, right? Maybe we do need to get weight off, but there are strategic ways to do it. We don't need to do it in extremes. We want it to be a lot more slow, minor, sustainable, but you most definitely should not be in them for like permanent period of time. I think that this is such a like misconception, is that like the idea that we're supposed to live in a calorie deficit. You are not. Calorie deficits are meant for periods of time to change your body composition in a specific way. Okay, you're not supposed to live in them. If you are somebody who is struggling with being skinny fat, let's go back to what we talked about what that means. Your problem is not necessarily losing weight. Your problem is needing to build muscle and lose body fat. A calorie deficit is not the recipe to that. But I think so many women who are stuck in this skinny fat phase and wanting to change their body, we've been conditioned to think that changing your body requires a calorie deficit. Not necessarily. Not when your goal is to build muscle and lose body fat. Calorie deficit is the recipe to lose weight. You are trying to lose body fat and build muscle. And that's why all of these reasons of being in a chronic calorie deficit and under eating for a chronic period of time are the reasons you are still stuck at skinny fat, because it is not the recipe. Okay, that was my that was it. That was my tangent, my TED Talk. I hope you guys like this. I hope that this made some things click. These are the kind of conversations and research and things that I remember at the beginning of my fitness journey I was hearing, and it was finally making the light bulb go off. So I hope that this is a part of that for you. And before we wrap up here, I did just want to give a quick shout out to a little sponsor of the pod, Legion Athletics, my favorite supplement brand for all supplements. They've got everything, but I do love them. Why did I say double do? Do love them for their protein powders, both their vegan and whey protein. I actually use both, not because whey messes up with my stomach. I have no problem with whey, but I just love their vegan. Like, I think it mixes so well with like Greek yogurt. I make my Ninja creamies with it. I'll mix it in some cottage cheese with like fruit and honey, which by the way is a great high protein snack. And yeah, they're my favorite. So if you do want to check out a new protein powder source or just any supplements in general, they've got creatine, fish oil, all the good stuff. You can check out their website. I'll put it in the show notes below, and you can use my code MalloryM at checkout for, I think it's 20% off your first order and then like 10% off your order every time after that or something. And it supports me, but I just wanted to share because I genuinely love their stuff and I'm always getting asked for protein powder recommendations. So thank you guys so much for being here and joining me today. If you liked what you heard, please like, share, comment, all the things, like in the Apple Podcast or Spotify. It really means a lot. Share it on your social media, share it with a friend who you think this would resonate with. I would really appreciate it because I'm just here doing this for fun for y'all. So love y'all. See you on the flip side. Bye.